Hello, my name is Nick Redburn, and I'm a nuclear medicine technologist at the Polyclinic. My capstone presentation today is going to be about nuclear medicine protocols and how I made them. The goal of my capstone project was to create a protocol manual for the nuclear medicine department at the Polyclinic. I chose 3 protocols to write and formatted them using a template that I created. I also wanted to include the radiopharmacy that the isotopes are ordered from, as well as who the consulting health physicist is, and other things like the RAM license, which is the radioactive materials license. I wanted to make sure that was included in the protocol manual as well. It's important to have a protocol manual to remove any confusion or ambiguity. And before there was a protocol manual here, technologists had to consult radiologists who are off-site for guidance for exams. And usually departments have a physical or electronic protocol manual in place for the technologists to refer to. They don't have to call off-site radiologists. Before I started here about 2 years ago, there were travelers who were working here for about a year, and they made a book of notes that outlined the basics of how to get a patient through an exam, but there was no official protocol manual. I run the department completely by myself, and should I ever need to take a day off, I need to make sure that whichever traveler technologist comes and covers me that they perform the exams in the same way that I would, both for continuity with the patients and also with the radiologists. Protocol manuals are beneficial because they help prevent patient safety issues in nuclear medicine. One of the most common patient safety incidents are medication issues. So administering the incorrect radiopharmaceutical or activity level can be avoided if a protocol manual outlining the required medication and activity level is developed and observed at an institution. Protocol manuals are necessary to ensure that exams are performed the same way every time, and they also prevent patients from getting the wrong dose or dose activity. The Polyclinic is accredited by the American College of Radiology, also known as the ACR, and when applying for accreditation for renewal, the ACR requires that information such as the radiopharmaceutical, dose amount, collimator, imaging time, matrix, and other imaging parameters be submitted using the clinical test image data sheet. These imaging parameters are defined in the protocol manual so that the Polyclinic is now compliant with ACR requirements. The first thing I did when starting to work on this protocol manual was to formulate a list of all of the exams performed here in the general nuclear medicine department at the Polyclinic. I then created a template that I wanted all of the protocols to follow because I wanted to make sure that I included pertinent information that should be included in each protocol. I then wrote one protocol at a time. I started with the Lasix renogram, and I emailed my version of the protocol to Dr. Cruitt for review and edits and any feedback that she might have. I then did the same thing with the gastric emptying study, and finally the I-123 thyroid uptake and scan. That one I emailed to Dr. Yee as well, another inland imaging radiologist. I used inland imaging's existing protocols as kind of a base for my protocols because we use the same radiologist, so they're going to want similar guidelines. However, they have different equipment and different setup and workflow and multiple technologists versus just having one, like here. So I made sure that my protocols were specific to the Polyclinic. I also utilized procedure standards from the Society of Nuclear Medicine and Molecular Imaging, which is also known as the SNMMI. I also included information such as the consulting health physicist, isotope supplier, radioactive material license, organizational structure, and general radiation safety information in the protocol manual. My results went as planned. I was able to produce a protocol manual in both electronic and paper format. I identified the protocols that needed to be written out I chose the 3 protocols that I was going to write. I submitted the gastric emptying study protocol and the Lasix renogram protocol to Dr. Pruitt. She got back to me very quickly, and I made the edits she requested before putting them into the manual. I submitted the I-123 thyroid uptake and scan to Dr. Yi because he is involved in a hyperthyroid therapy dosing that is related to the I-123 thyroid uptake scan. After I got feedback from Dr. Yi and Dr. Krud on the I-123 protocol, I put the finished protocol into the manual, and I also added the other pertinent information I previously discussed about like the RAM license and information about the health physicist as well as the isotope supplier. This is a visual of the first 2 pages of the gastric emptying protocol that I made. You can see how detailed it is. I provide an overview of the exam, indications for the exam, patient preparation, camera acquisition details, radiopharmaceutical, the dose, the technique of administration, patient positioning and acquisition details, data processing, radiation emission data, as well as dosimetry and references in each protocol. Those are all things that are included in the template that I made, and so every protocol that I have will follow this format. This project has evolved from my initial proposal for the Capstone project. I originally just thought I would create some protocols and put them in a book, and that would be my Capstone project. And after chatting with the program director, Jennifer Pregages, I chatted with her and decided to add some more information to the protocol manual, including who the consulting health physicist was and the isotope supplier, RAM license, organizational chart, a lot more information that's just pertinent to how the department is run in general so that it can run very smoothly if perhaps one day I actually took a vacation day. Basing it off of Inland's protocols, I thought would be a little bit easier of a task because they already had protocols in place, but then I realized that their protocols weren't perfect and none of their references were in APA format. They had more references listed than actually referenced in their papers, and then sometimes they were outdated and disorganized. I thought I would consult with Dr. Yi more, but I mostly worked with Dr. Krud on the protocols because she was the most accessible to me. She was my mentor during this process, and she responded to me very quickly whenever I submitted a protocol to her. Unfortunately, Dr. Yi went on vacation before I had sent him the I-123 protocol, and he was unable to get back to me as quickly as Dr. Krud did. So when I submitted that protocol, it took about 3 weeks for it to finally get all finished and get everyone to agree because he consulted with Dr. Pruitt and another technologist. So there was a lot of feedback that had to happen on that one versus me just working directly with Dr. Pruitt and her authorizing it. So many things changed from my initial proposal to what my finished product was. So in conclusion, finishing the 3 protocols is just the start of finishing all of the protocols for the nuclear medicine department at the Polyclinic. There are still at least 10 more protocols that need to be written by me and approved by Dr. Pruitt before the manual can be complete. There will be changes that need to be made to the protocols as new research and findings change procedure standards. New protocols will be added in the future. For example, Polyclinic just purchased the thyroid uptake probe, and there's the potential of starting a thyroid cancer program. This would require a significant amount of protocol work because there's currently no protocol pertaining to thyroid cancer protocols. One day there will be a new camera, and all of the processing sections of the protocol will have to be rewritten. It'll be an ongoing project as long as there's a nuclear medicine department and it continues to operate. Changes will need to be made to the protocol manual every time there's a change to the radioactive materials license, health physicist, radiation safety officer, equipment, etc. Polyclinic may change radiologists at some point. In the event of that occurring, the protocol manual will need a complete overhaul to suit the preferences of the radiologist group. So it's really a never-ending project, but at least we have a good foundation now with the template and something already in place so we can change things based off of what I've started. So research methodology, how am I able to do what I did? Taking classes like HTML 301 helped me be able to identify credible sources. RAIT 302 was helpful in identifying and interpreting scholarly articles related to pathology. These are helpful skills because I had to use scholarly articles as references for my protocol manuals, and classes like HTML 411 helped me hone my PowerPoint skills. Essential to my project were the procedure standards provided by the Society of Nuclear Medicine and Molecular Imaging, as well as the feedback I received from Dr. Crude and Dr. Yee. The procedure standards are on the website provided by the SNMMI. It is important to have an MD sign off on the protocols because I am administering the isotopes under the license of the authorized user. The liability falls on the authorized user because everything that I administer is under their license. It's critical that I have an MD sign off on the protocol manual once it's created. I also utilized my access to the lead technologist and radiation safety officer at Inland Imaging. Having access to their staff has provided me with access to their protocols for the exams. These are my references for the ACR and the part about medical misadministrations. I'd like to thank Jennifer Precages and Irene Cruitt as my mentors, essentially, and my family for sticking with me and helping me get through the last 3 years. And I even made a human during this. So thanks, everyone. And thank you for listening.